Please turn your microphones on and pull them forward when speaking. I'd like to welcome everyone to the January 8th, 2024 meeting of the Town of Niskayuna Planning Board and Zoning Commission. Mr. Henry, please call the roll.
Laura, do you or Chairman Walsh want to make an announcement about Mr. Screbutenis and Mr. Drescher before I read the roll?
Well, I was going to do that at the end of the meeting. You don't need to read them for the roll, or you can, either way. I didn't know you were going to plan on reading them, but okay. Well, Mr. Screbutenis has resigned at the end of last year, so he's no longer with us. And Mr. Drescher is now the Deputy Supervisor of the Town of Niskayuna, and so he won't be on this board any longer. So we have a couple open seats there.
Okay,
Thanks, Clark.
Mr. Laflamme.
Here.
Ms. Strang.
Here.
Mr. Khan.
Here.
Mr. McPartland.
Here.
Mr. Darpino.
Here.
Ms. Gold.
Present.
Chairman Walsh.
Here. Thank you, Mr. Henry. Okay, we have the approval of the minutes from the December 11th, 2023 meeting. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Motion approved by Mr. McPartland. Do I have a second?
A second.
And second by Mr. Laflamme. Corrections and changes, I do have a couple of minor ones. I don't know if anybody picked up on this, but line 48, Ms. Strang voted, but Ms. Strang wasn't here. So it's line 48 and line 68, both Ms. Strang. That should be Mr. Drescher on both of those. Do I need to, Elena, do I need to do an amended minutes for that, do you think, or? Oh, okay. So is there any other changes or comments on the minutes at all? None? Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we modify the minutes and replace Ms. Strang with Mr. Drescher on line 48 and 68, both on page 2, I believe.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Khan. All right, so we have an amended minutes.
Well, call in favor of them.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. All in favor of, well, we have amended minutes. Is there any comments on the amended minutes?
But
There needs to be a vote on the amendments.
Oh,
and a
okay.
vote
Yeah.
on the-
We need, okay, all those in, I'm sorry, I got you. First of the year, give me a chance. All those in favor of approval of the, or all those in favor of amending the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have officially have amended minutes. Thank you for your help. All right, any questions, comments on the minutes as amended?
I think I have to abstain for that reason.
Okay, I have one exception when we vote. Okay, no other comments? All right, all those in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And abstentions or noes, we have one Ms. Strang.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. All right, so the minutes from December are approved, December 11th. We have no public hearings tonight, so we'll open the floor for privilege of the floor. Anyone wishing to be heard regarding any planning and zoning matters in the town of Niskayuna, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and we'd love to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Need my glasses. Okay. Okay, Happy New Year to everyone. I'm back, Natalie Tiberio. I reside at 8 Seneca Road, and I have lived in Niskayuna for over 45 years. I've had the opportunity to discuss the River Road project with town employees, board and committee members for a deeper understanding, and I have a few questions for the board. Can I ask questions?
You can ask questions, but we won't respond until we have a discussion later on when we talk about the project.
Okay. Well, there'll be several, so I don't know how
We'll
it
write them
works,
down.
but I will just continue. Okay, so it is my understanding, after reviewing the plans, Mr. Lucy is asking to subdivide the parcel to 3, from 1 to 3. The home he is requesting to build, the footprint appears quite large and has a secondary structure in addition to his personal residence, while adding the 2 additional houses on the other lots. So I have a few questions here. It appears pretty significant in relation to what's currently there. Now, the plan that we saw at the building department there are 3 retention ponds, 1 for each home. I guess one of my questions is, are they hooked up to storm sewers? And if not, where does the water overflow go to? I would like noted that the infrastructure, the current infrastructure on Seneca Road was designed for 4 homes. The current design is inferior. Matt Yetto stated during the site visit attended by Mr. Khan and Mr. McPartland, I believe Laura was there as well, that the road's design is not up to today's standard and would not be approved as is. The water flow from the proposed driveway onto Seneca, it's not clear where that water flows to. These are concerns that we saw by initially reviewing it. I also would like to hand out a letter that was written by Leo Molina, a neighbor of mine who has moved. This letter was almost a year ago, and it was written to Jamie Puccioni. It states very clearly that his house was flooded twice. So this was before 2023, when everyone says that we've had a significant rainfall. So this is really an indication that Seneca Road has experienced water issues prior to 2023. So I'll give it to you, Laura, but I've also added it and uploaded it on the Google.
Drive.
Yes. Now I have some questions, and it would be great if I knew the answers. I guess my question is about the difference between an easement and also versus the town taking ownership versus someone just putting it in a deed, language in a deed. And this is really referencing the path to the park. There is a path, and it is utilized by our neighborhood as well as some who reside on River Road and also Covington Court. Keeping a natural path open while eliminating Mr. Lucy's liability makes sense to me. And if legal agreement is needed, then that appears to be the most responsible way forward. I know that there are certain things that are on the table, certain different designs that the Conservation Advisory Committee had recommended. I don't know if we would want to put a blacktop driveway going into the basketball courts, and that would probably allow for people from the basketball courts to probably meander down, but keeping it open to everyone. And if someone, I think Mr. Lucy is trying to propose putting it in a deed, there are legal issues and questions that I have regarding that. If it's an issue of liability, would it be beneficial to have it in the town's ownership rather than an easement and rather than a deed? And then also, if it's in a deed, can the property owner prevent people from going through there? Does he have the right, since that would essentially still be his property? I think I would probably be one of the people that he would prevent from going through there because I've been very vocal about this. Okay, another question is the board's responsibility. Is the board's responsibility just for the actual project? Do you need to concern yourselves with issues that are beyond the parcel? Or is it the responsibility of the engineers, town highway department? It is my understanding the board needs to hopefully rely on the engineers and the highway department, whose jobs are to protect the interests of the town and the community. Now, during the last meeting, Matt Yetto, head of engineering, and Ray Smith, head of highway department, have requested through Laura to take ownership of some of the federal wetlands where the current culverts cross Seneca Road. They're not requesting an easement. They're requesting donation or whatever leads to ownership. So that's another question. It is my understanding that ownership would essentially help the town with the current drainage issues on Seneca Road and allow for continued maintenance, which I believe is critically important. I know that there was some discussion of potential retention ponds over in that area, and certainly water issues are liability issues. And we have a lot of small children, and if it is going to become a retention pond, would it be beneficial for the town to just take ownership of that rather than easement? That goes back to my question of legal. Okay. So I thank you for your patience. I said here and answering my questions, but they haven't been answered. My hope is the board will do what is best for the town and community, and sometimes that involves not making everyone happy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open. Anyone in the audience would like to speak? Laura, do you know if we have anybody online for privilege of the floor?
There's a fair number of people online, but I believe they're all representing an applicant. Is there anyone online that wishes to speak?
For privilege of the floor? Okay, and there was communications. You want to summarize? We had one communication, correct, Laura?
Yes, so there was a communication that came in over the weekend from a neighbor who wanted to express that they were concerned if the town did not take an easement. That comment was forwarded onto the board. I just checked my email before the meeting started about 4 minutes ago. I also got an email from a second neighbor who doesn't want the town ownership of the trail. So I will forward that one on to you. So the first comment was from Jeff Orfold, and the second one was from Greta Jansen.
They said they did not want ownership?
So, yeah, they were concerned that over publicizing it would make it more of a walkable attraction.
Okay.
So I'll forward that one on to you. That just came in like 5 minutes ago.
All right, thank you. Okay, last call for privilege of the floor. Anybody else here?
Yeah, hey, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Hey, this is Jesse Bonanno. I actually live on the cul-de-sac with Natalie. I guess just to what she was just getting at, I guess the question I'd have is, if the town were to take control over that piece of property, right, the path, what guarantees would the neighbors or the residents have that it would not be, paved or advertised or created to become something that attracts people to walk through the park? Because just for context, in its current situation, if you're in that park, it's not very obvious that there's a trail. So there's really no reason that anybody would come from the park through that passage into our neighborhood. It's always just vice versa. Just curious, if the town were to take control, again, are there any legal avenues or commitments or whatnot that the town would be, comfortable committing to that would prevent that from ever happening? So in other words, leave it in its natural state, without paving it or changing the obviousness of the path, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, one last call for privilege of the floor. Okay, we'll close privilege of the floor. Thank you for your comments
Oh,
and,
wait, Chairman, there's someone else online. Sorry, they're speaking.
okay, sorry.
Hi there, Kelsey Irwin. I also live on Seneca, and I kind of just want to back what Jesse said and what a few other neighbors said in terms of just kind of keeping either in the natural state or making sure that it doesn't become a public type of walkway with kind of invitation for people from the park to kind of stroll in the neighborhood, and allowing that to kind of remain private to the point of there are 14, 15 plus children in the neighborhood, and to allow the kind of preservation of what we currently have as is, whether that's more details on what that means from the town taking over or just leaving it in its natural state.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, I got one additional question to add to that too, which is that if the property were to remain in Mr. Lucy's ownership, And there was a comment, made around maybe adding something to the deed that would, say that, hey, this is going to remain in its natural state. I guess I'm curious on, is that a legally binding commitment that couldn't be broken, or as a private homeowner, would you have the ability to update that deed later on? And really just to break it all down, I think what everybody's saying is we're trying to have access to the path retained and protected without changing the nature of the path such that it becomes too obvious or advertised that people would come the other way from the park into our small cul-de-sac, if that makes sense.
Got it. And we'll have some discussion later on when we have 2890 River Road come up in front of us under discussion items later, okay?
Awesome. Thank you.
One last try. Privilege of floor, anybody? All right, we'll close privilege of the floor. We have no public hearings tonight. Oh, we already did that. No unfinished business. We have new business. We have 2 resolutions tonight. First resolution being Resolution 2024-01, a resolution for seeker determination and call for a public hearing for a 3-lot minor subdivision at 2890 River Road. As typical, I'm going to summarize the resolution from which is posted to our website. I say that all the time, and they're always there, which is great. Resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission hereby determines that this project will not have a significant effect on the environment, with the condition that the applicant provide a public access easement from the end of the Seneca Road cul-de-sac to the River Road Park, where the existing walk path currently exists, and conserve the remaining undisturbed lands of the subdivision through a conservation easement or deed to the town of Niskayuna, and hereby directs the town planner to file a conditional negative seeker declaration as noted above, with the additional following comments from the CAC findings. 1, the developer shall explore solar and EV-ready options for the new homes, as well as explore pesticide-free options for long maintenance, as the properties are directly adjacent to wetlands. 2, the developer shall use native species wherever possible in their planting plans. 3, drainage is critical to the review of the subdivision, and the developer shall provide for ways to maintain the privately owned stormwater management practices in perpetuity. And be it hereby further resolved that this planning board does hereby call for a public hearing to be held on Monday, January 22, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Niskayuna Town Hall, 1 Niskayuna Circle, to consider the application of Ryan Lucy for a 3-lot minor subdivision at 2890 River Road, Niskayuna, New York. Do I have a motion on the resolution? I think we have to have, if there's concerns with the resolution, we can, I think we're going to have to move it and second it, and then we can have discussion. And then if we have any concerns, we can modify the resolution.
Okay, move that resolution.
All right.
I move the resolution gets put on the table.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, resolutions moved for adoption by Mr. Khan and seconded by Mr. Gold, and we're going to have some discussion.
That would be Ms.
Ms. Gold. Did I say Mr.? Hi, I'm sorry. I had a rough night
Nobody
tonight.
says miss.
Okay.
It's getting started tomorrow. You're doing
All
fine.
right, we'll get there. Got to get back in the groove from the holidays, apparently. All right, so we're going to have some discussion. Anybody, I could kick it off, or somebody would like to do that?
Patrick, you can go ahead.
I'll defer to the
Okay.
project leads if they'd like to start.
So in educating myself a little more on the action that's been recommended by the Conservation Advisory Council, I fear that we do not have all of the necessary, all of the required pieces in place to actually move this, to adopt this resolution. Specifically, the seeker handbook lays out a few instances in which you would use a conditional negative declaration, and it also specifically calls for the use of the full EAF in evaluating the need for a conditional negative declaration. As everyone here knows, that was not requested of the applicant. We only requested a short form EAF. So just on the face of it, I am concerned that we have a legal issue with adopting this resolution. Beyond that, I would like to have some discussion about the CAC's findings and hear from the applicant about how they would address the conditions that were attached to that recommendation, specifically the multi-use path, which I think we can all get behind in some form or fashion. It's just a question of the form and, what works and what's reasonable. That's what I had
Yeah.
to say.
Yep, I agree with this exact same procedural issue. And I guess I do have a question for Laura, the planning board, and for the town attorney. It seems that the full EAF is a requirement for a conditioned negative declaration, right?
Yeah, so I was reviewing it on the website and it specifically mentioned that it's appropriate for unlisted actions. And unlisted actions, they typically only require the short form EAF. And so I actually would have to do a little more research to see if you can, for an unlisted action, require the full environmental assessment form. And having never done a conditional declaration, I mean, if you guys read that, I'm comfortable with your analysis of it as well. If there's a legal issue that's there, I definitely think we should pause on that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys taking a look at that, because I also had the same thing, because I've been on this board for, losing track, I think it's 25 years now. And when I don't think I've ever seen a conditional negative declaration recommendation from the Conservation Advisory Council. So I did the same thing. I pulled out the seeker cookbook and started looking through things and trying to understand that. And I come across the same thing Mr. McPartland and Mr. Khan were talking about. I mean, it was also in our Talk of the Towns book that we get. It just had to be an article about seeker in it last month when we got our book. And basically, it says just what I marked it somewhere here. It says unlisted actions. Many actions fall within unlisted action category as it captures any action contemplated that does not fall under a type 1 or type 2 list. Unlisted actions require a determination of significance, either a positive declaration or a negative declaration. Agencies have the ability to issue a conditional negative declaration. However, if the agency goes this route, both coordinated review and a full AAF is required. If the agency does not issue a conditional declaration, it has the option to use a short EAF. That's from
For the unlisted.
That's from the thing. So seeker is an interesting thing, and I've been doing this a long time, but I pulled up the town code, Laura. You might want to pull this up also. So I was trying to make sure I understand completely, type 1, type 2 actions and unlisted. And so I just pulled up the code, and under 95, section 95-7 is our type 2 actions, which are listed, Laura. I don't know if you
Yeah, we
take a
can
look
pull
at
it up.
that.
Yep.
And if you look under, let's see, trying to find it here. Oh, UU, right at the bottom of the page. And this is our code. It says that it says minor subdivisions are defined in the minor subdivisions as defined. So this tells me that it's not an unlisted, that it's a type 2 action, actually. Which might be a good thing, by the way.
So I know you had this question at the beginning. Our code is valid unless it conflicts with New York State code. And I believe that this is in one instance where it conflicts with the New York State code. And so we have been following New York State code in the instance of minor subdivisions and not our own. We have had a couple potential revisions of our code go through the seeker, but they've run into problems when Schenectady County went to, offer us comments on adopting them, so it hasn't been fully resolved. But in this instance, when it comes to the listed actions, we've been following the New York State code, which is higher.
All right, so you say New
Higher
York State
authority.
code has minor subdivisions as an unlisted action, and it trumps our code.
Well, I mean, by definition, it's not actually listed, right? So New York State
Yeah.
lists type 1, and then you have unlisted and type 2s. But their code is higher than ours, and we've had discussions with the state in which we've been using their code to classify actions. We also do it for site plan.
Yep.
Our site plans
Yep.
actually require the full EAF, and we have been classifying them as unlisted, I think, for many years. Our lists in our seeker code are problematic.
Yep, oh yeah. Well, obviously it is problematic because, we said I just went right to the source
Mm-hmm.
document to try to understand. And so I have no reason to doubt what you're saying, that the New York State doesn't list this as a type 2 action, I guess is what you're saying. So that's what we've been following. So if that's the case, if it was a type 2 action, actually there'd be a solution to the resolution tonight. And the solution would be just to condition our approval to have either an easement or the town take ownership of the path. Because that's, we can go forward with the public hearing. And that wouldn't conflict with anything that the Conservation Advisory Council has said. So that would be an easy way out. But if that's not the case, because it truly is an unlisted action, then I think we need to take a look at this, make sure we have all the things that have to require for that to happen
Yeah,
correctly.
so what Chairman Walsh is proposing, without the use of the condition negative declaration, given it's an unlisted action following the state code,
Mhm.
don't we have the ability to
That's a good point.
accept Chairman Walsh's proposal?
Yeah, I actually think what he just said applies either way.
Right.
So it applies to an unlisted action and a type 2 action. You could take the conditional declaration out of the resolution, do just a regular negative declaration based on the CAC's recommendation and make your own conditions.
Right, and that's why I told you, I support the Conservation Advisory Council's input, and talking to neighbors, I think the path is, I'm going to support that a path occur. The form of the path, and how the ownership of the path is something still that we can work through. We're not there yet, okay, for tonight, but I agree with that. So I did take a look at the resolution, and it says basically that, the Conservation Advisory Council is advisory to the planning board. We are the lead agency. So really, page 1 is okay. And if you look at page 2, under the resolved, the first resolved, that it says, determines that this project will have significant, with the condition that this applicant provide a public access easement. You can consider, let's see, and directs the town planner to file a conditional negative secret declaration. So I guess in that case, we would just strike the conditional. Another way of doing it would be to take that paragraph from the Conservation Advisory Council and add another finding under the CAC, number 4, and basically put those words down there. So it's input from the Conservation Advisory Council, right? And then what we could do is we could add a condition to the resolution that supports, it says that we, if everybody's on board with it, we'll vote on it, of course. It says that we want to have either the town take ownership or an easement provided by the applicant, because we all believe it's important to have that connection. That would be another way of handling it, right? And then we could go forward, and that would keep the project moving forward, and we'd be able to have our public hearing.
Yep.
Right? Right.
So Chairman Walsh, I'm leaning in favor personally on the latter part of what you said there, that we
Modify.
we extract the CAC's statements from the resolve, put it in as a 4th item under the list of CAC originated comments, and then have a condition on it, just to reiterate what you said. However, I do want to bring up a couple of things before we
Oh, no,
move
definitely.
forward.
There's more. Yep.
So look, there are 2 main issues here, right? One is ownership or easement of the wetlands,
Mhm.
right? The southwestern part of the property, right? And I think the applicant did mention at some point, at least it's in our documentation, that during this week, they were expecting some kind of a meeting or wanted to have some kind of a meeting on that. And my understanding is that the town would prefer ownership of those wetlands in anticipation of something to be done in the future to correct.
Yeah,
poor
that's
drainage
correct.
in
We've
Seneca.
had some internal meetings, and the letter that was in your packet from the water and sewer superintendent
Right.
speaks also for the highway superintendent. And their request is, it's just easier when they're doing a request for the Army Corps of Engineers and all of the different things that they may end up needing to do for the land, that they own it.
Yep. I mean, it's not the discussion period yet, but I'd strongly recommend that in the meetings that, the applicant has with the town, you give a strong consideration to transferring that ownership to the town. Because I know that's something us or some subsequent planning board really needs to encourage the town to fix that drainage and water issue in a more permanent way without putting that burden back on existing residents or any new applicants. All right, I think there was a lot of clarity there from our meetings. In terms of the multi-use path, I'm a little bit more neutral in which way it goes. I know the path should exist. It should be accessible to all. But, I wouldn't like to express a strong opinion one way or the other on that topic as much as I would on ownership of the wetlands.
We take easements for multi-use paths more often than we take for land. An easement is more typical treatment of a multi-use path connection. Wouldn't you say, Elena?
Yeah, I agree. I just need to circle back at some point in time because I'm confused as to how we're not doing a full EAF.
Yeah, I mean, if the planning board was to require a full EAF, I think they couldn't move forward on the resolution as written.
But we're
If
not,
it's if we're saying it's a condition negative declaration,
no,
then we
we're gonna strike it that it's not a conditioned negative declaration. It's a negative declaration with a comment.
A recommendation,
Yeah,
not a conditional.
yeah, not a conditional, the term conditional negative declaration. It'll be a negative declaration with a condition that we have the path. A bit of a difference there.
we may have to move into executive session before this is voted on.
We could do that.
One other comment, let's make sure there's no other comments, okay? 'Cause I do have one other question, and it's just the way it's written. And again, I support maintaining that connection in some format. I did walk it this weekend. I spent some time down there, talked to one of the neighbors, and I could see the benefit of it. Definitely see the benefit of it, but I also hear the concerns about, becoming too popular, and I can understand that too. But if you look at, it says here in the resolution, the applicant provide a public access easement from the end of Seneca Road cul-de-sac to the River Road Park. And then it has in parentheses where the existing walk path currently exists. And my concern just with that is that, we're still in the process of working through the subdivision approval. We haven't had the public hearing yet. Just the words, first of all, end of the Seneca Road, that's kind of like subjective, right? It doesn't, it's, right?
Yeah, I think at this point, it's highly specific without actually being technically accurate,
Yeah, well,
right? I'd like to see what the path looks like on a subdivision.
there you go.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to give the applicant the opportunity, if they have concerns. I did watch the Conservation Advisory Council meeting the other day on, I was going to say tape, it goes show you how old I am, on video. So, there's concerns from the applicant also about, people coming through and, trying to have privacy and so on and so forth. And I understand all that. So I would like to give the applicant the opportunity to, slightly shift possibly that path that's there slightly to the northwest, as long as it goes from the cul-de-sac to the park. If it's shifted just slightly, I don't want it to be exact. It doesn't have to be exactly where it's at right now is what I'm saying. In fact, thank you, Laura, for pulling that up. If you take a look at it, you can see how it hangs, basically the 90-degree left there, the hook to get up into the park. And again, this needs to be engineered because, it may disturb an additional amount of wetlands or it may not. I don't know the answer to that. But if that entrance to the path were just shifted down a little bit, I guess it would be to the northwest slightly. We could still serve what we all need to do, right? What we all want, what I hear we all want, have access, but try to minimize impact on the new potential resident also at the same time. So I think we're all in agreement of what we want. It's just the words, I don't think allow us to do that. I think it's too specific, as Mr. Khan was saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine.
And again, I agree with everything that's in here. It's just a matter of verbiage and making sure we got it correct legally. All right. And then that's the only other comment I had. Otherwise, I support what we have here. Any other thoughts? So, Lenny is saying we should move into executive
I think it would be a good idea if somebody would be willing to make a motion.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we move into executive session. I can't state what the section of the law is, but we're basically going to discuss legal matters that pertains to this minor subdivision to make sure we get it right.
I'll second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And what we will do after our brief discussion, we will resume the meeting.
Would it be easier for all of us to go upstairs and use the Schaefer room versus you shutting off
Mhm.
everybody on the?
Yeah,
I'd recommend
that
that.
would be better.
I'd recommend that.
Okay, so for the online applicants, we're just going to pause for a moment. It'll stay the same, and for everybody in the room, we will be
I
right.
apologize, everybody, for your time, I know, but we've got this. Now, just before we go, the only other option would be to go ahead with the next resolution to get those people, just to save some time and money, I guess, people, is that okay? And so people that are here for the next resolution can mosey. How's that sound, all right? All right, thank you, everybody, and then we'll move upstairs.
They're the same people, though.
It's the same people?
I think it's
Uh,
Mr. Roman.
It's
Uh,
Roman still.
Well, he'll be here, but it's also, there's people online though, I believe, right? There's people also online, so we'll be able to excuse them for 3631.
Oh.
All right? Yeah, we have Mr.
Wheeler.
At least online, so if we go ahead, at least we can excuse those people and they don't have to wait. All right, so next resolution is Resolution 2024-02, an amendment to Resolution 2023-26 for exterior facade renovations, including new signage at 3631 State Street. Excuse me a minute, because I got a little tizzy here. There we go. And that, again, is posted, and so is the old resolution. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. I got too much paper. I'm terrible in paper. All right, got it. Good. All right. Resolved that Plain Board and Zoning Commission has determined that the proposed revised sign waiver as described above would have a minimum negative effect on the aesthetics and compatibility with neighborhood character. And be it further resolved, the Plain Board and Zoning Commission does hereby grant said revised waiver to allow for the signage as described above. And be it further resolved, the Plain Board and Zoning Commission finds that above referenced site plan meets the requirements of the zoning code and therefore hereby approves the site plan. Can I have a motion to approve this updated amended resolution for the signage for waivers for signage?
Motion.
Motion, do I have a motion by Mr. Khan for approval of resolution? Do I have a second?
Second.
And second by Mr. DiRapino. Basically, we had an approval for variances and the sign waivers for the signage, but when the applicant, my understanding, came in for the building permit, it wasn't exactly what we approved it. It was different. Turns out that the new waivers are actually less in square footage, except for the one sign, the Ford logo, which is 5 square foot bigger. So overall, it's a net decrease in waiver, except for the one sign. I don't have a problem with it, and this will allow the applicant to go forward. Any other comments or questions at all? Any other comments from the applicant at all? No?
Nope, that sums it up.
Okay, thank you. Anybody? All right, Mr. Henry, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Aye.
Ms. Strang,
Aye.
Mr. Khan,
Aye.
Mr. McPartlin,
Aye.
Mr. Darpino,
Aye.
Ms. Gold,
Aye.
Chairman Walsh.
Aye. The resolution is approved, and the updated waivers and amended resolutions all set for Metro Ford.
Thank you.
All right, and we're going to break for a minute in the executive session, and we'll be hopefully right back.
Yep.
We talk all the way back up there. So you're right with you. As soon as everybody gets here, we'll recommence the meeting. Or you would need to type it up or anything? Well, I mean, I can explain it. I can explain it, but maybe we need some help, okay?
Yeah, I can't.
All right. You know what we want. Yeah, just taking out the. You got it. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting back to order again. Thank you very much for everybody for your patience. We appreciate it. All right, where we left off was there was a discussion regarding the CAC referral and the structure of the resolution that we had. Coming out of executive session, we think we're on a path to be able to clarify, or at least a path forward, a nice path forward, to be able to keep things going also. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a motion that we amend the resolution. And I'm going to try to get through this, and you guys can all help me out. And what we want to do is, again, we appreciate the Conservation Advisory Council, and we agree with the Conservation Advisory Council, but the way that the conditional recommendation for a conditional negative declaration complicates things. And so I guess it would be the easy way to put it. We are the lead agency, and this resolution is written to provide a negative declaration, which is our intention after we vote, of course. So what we want to do is we want to modify the resolution where we had the resolve. There's a couple things we want to modify. One is the comment I had discussion regarding the end of Seneca. We thought that was too definite. It shows on the drawing the approximate location. This is still a work in process. We're still working through the minor subdivision process. So so we don't need to be that detailed about the end of Seneca Road cul-de-sac. So we're going to strike the end. We're also going to strike the parentheses where it says where the existing walk path currently exists, because as we go through the subdivision process, if it turns out that you may interpret this to be exactly where it's at, and I don't want to go there because we want to give the applicant in the town the opportunity to possibly shift it so it's shorter, better, less grade, whatever reason, farther away from the home, better location. There's not much much changes that can occur there, so it's going to be in the same general vicinity. But I think it's too definitive, so we're going to strike that parentheses where the existing walk path currently exists. All right, and then we're also going to strike directs the town planner to file a conditional negative seeker declaration. We are going to file a negative seeker declaration. All right, and then the other thing we're also going to do is under the CAC findings, there was 3 findings regarding EV options, native species, how critical the wetland stormwater management plan is. And we're going to add a 4th finding from the CAC, which is basically their recommendation about how important public access easement from the Seneca Road cul-de-sac to the River Road Park is, and conserve the remaining undisturbed lands of the subdivision through a conservation easement. That will be listed as a finding. Again, we'll work through the subdivision process, and either the drawings will reflect the final decisions made by the town after the applicant meets with the attorneys and where we're going, whether the town owns it, whether the applicant owns it. But that's our intention. And if need be, when we get to a point where we have a resolution for minor subdivision approval, if we have to be clear, we'll condition it at that point in time. All right, does that make sense? All right, so the changes are basically moving that resolve down, limiting the resolve that we are issuing a negative declaration, moving the conditional negative declaration. That's a recommendation from the Conservation Advisory Council, and we're the lead agency. And we will work through that as part of the subdivision process. And I think we're in good shape, and that would allow the resolution to go forward and be able to call for a public hearing and keep the project moving forward with the current short EAF, which we feel is the correct form. Does that summarize it pretty good? Does anybody have any concerns about that? Okay, how about I make a motion that we amend the resolution as I just stated?
That should be all of your comments up on the screen as well, Chairman.
Excuse me?
That
Oh,
resolution
okay.
up there takes
All right.
into account all of your comments. I can
Okay.
read it if you want.
Yep, yeah, I can read it. The applicant shall provide a public access easement from the Seneca Road cul-de-sac to the River Road Park and conserve the remaining undisturbed lands of the subdivision through their conservation easement or deed to the town in Niskuna. Again, to be decided as the town meets with the applicant. And then we will issue a negative seeker declaration, this board, the lead agency. Okay,
Did you make a motion, Chairman?
I made a motion that we amend the resolution as I stated.
Seconded.
So motion made by Chairman Walsh and seconded by Mr. Khan, and discussion.
I just want to reiterate a lot of what Chairman Walsh said regarding the input we've received from the CAC. I've been following along with the meetings, and I really appreciate the depth with which the CAC has analyzed any potential environmental impacts here and the input that they have on the site plan. And I feel as though we can accomplish all of the conditions that were laid out in their recommendation.
I would just like to echo what Ms. McPartin said, right? The CAC has been, a tremendous committee that advises the planning board. And, the original resolution might have had some procedural points with it that I think have now been optimized and made better. And thanks to the town attorney for drawing it to our attention. So, I think this is a very sound resolution based on where we're at as a seeker and a public hearing resolution.
All right, I know that we do have a motion and a second. I know we still need to do a show of hands or a vote. It says we do have an amended resolution yet.
Can I just add to the record real quick? As
Sure.
Part of our discussions is that the conditions that were put on the negative declaration were essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, deemed by this board to be subdivision type conditions that this board intends to see through the subdivision process, but doesn't necessarily believe that it impacts the negative declaration that this board will later vote on. And then that's the reason
Did
for
that-
the amendments. I think you
Yeah.
attempted to put that, but that was my takeaway.
Yeah, yeah.
The conversation,
Different ways
I
of
just wanted
phrasing
to
it.
clarify.
Basically, it's a work in progress. We agree, we appreciate the input, and we take it to heart, and we will take it to heart and forward. And the path does show on the drawings, currently shows on the drawing. So, and we'll finish it up as we move forward, the details of that. All right. All right. So we have any other comments? We have a motion and a second. Any other comments?
Just that the foregoing comments reflect what we discussed, and I do support them.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of amending the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with amending the resolution as shown? All right, hearing none opposed, we have a amended resolution or modified resolution that we can act on. Any other discussion or comments? I think we're in good shape. I think this also means we're more productive, I guess. I hate to say that, use that word, because, obviously we want to do things right. But we also like to be productive. This allows a public hearing to go forward if this resolution passes. So,
I look forward to addressing our colleagues in the CAC and what their concerns were, and I'm sure that all of those items will be checked out.
right, and we have Mr. Strayer right in front here, the chairman of the Conservation Advisory Council, that I appreciate your work on this also. Okay, if no other comments, Mr. Henry, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Aye.
Ms. Strang,
Aye.
Mr. Khan,
Aye.
Mr. McPartlin,
Aye.
Mr. Darpino,
Aye.
Ms. Gold,
Aye.
Chairman Walsh.
Aye, the amended resolution is approved. All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks for working through that, both the planning board and the town officials. I appreciate that, your work on that. All right, so we can move forward to the agenda now. And as soon as I find it, there we go. All right, so we have discussion items. And Darn, first discussion item is 2890 River Road, site plan application for a 3-lot minor subdivision. And we have the applicant here, and we have the project leads. And so we can have some discussion of where we stand on all the items. And obviously, we heard from a resident of the neighborhood during privilege of the floor. And if we can, I wrote some questions down. If we can try to address them, or at least keep them in mind, let's give that a whirl also. Okay?
Good evening. Michael Roman, I'm co-developing the property with Ryan and Lucy. We also have Mike DeSalt with us. Just to kind of keep things moving along, I know it's been some time. Do you want to just specifically jump into some of the questions that my team and the town reviewer can?
Yeah, we could
Make
do
it
that,
easier
and then we
that
could
way.
just get a status, and I'm sure the project leads knows where we stand with, town designated engineer, closing out items, et cetera. right?
Sure.
Our town designated engineers, right?
Yeah, Doug is here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug. I was looking at you. He looked familiar.
Yeah.
Now I know why. All right, Doug. All right?
Yep.
Okay. Did you take any notes? Do you have any questions, or you want me to give you a hand here? or-
Sure, yeah, I think that maybe some of them might be beneficial for Mike and Doug to speak on our behalf.
Okay.
Mike Dussault, Engineering Ventures. Well, I had two questions that I wrote down here. One was about the bioretention and where that discharges to. So lots 1 and 2, the bioretention areas discharge to the roadside ditch of River Road, which then flows to the 42-inch culvert under River Road. Lot 3 discharges towards the wetland area on site, and then that would flow through the wetland to the 42-inch culvert under River Road. All 3 areas were designed for water quality and for attenuating water quality for all the contributing impervious areas on each lot for each one of those bioretention areas. And they were also sized to attenuate for the 1, 10, and 100-year storms. So they were designed in accordance with the New York State Stormwater Management Manual. And the second one was the driveway on Lot 3. There was a comment in Prime's last letter about capturing some additional area of the driveway. So we will revise the plans to direct those to the bioretention on Lot 3 so that the majority of the proposed driveway on Lot 3 is directed to that practice and then attenuated and providing water quality for those areas. And I apologize, that was the only 2 that I caught from the comments.
Yeah, I mean, I can do my best here. Some of them were comments. I mean, it's 3 lots, minor subdivision, yes, it's down to 3 lots. I mean, that was a question, it's changed over the working period here. The home size, there was concern about the size of, I guess, lot number 3, I guess, right? That's number 3, size of the home or the garage.
It's an average size house. It's just as a detached garage with it. Should be about a 3,000 square foot house.
So 3-car detached and a 3-car attached, is that correct, sir?
Correct.
That's correct. I mean, obviously, it's a residential. There's not going to be any business, no work going on at the property, because I understand that, but I just want to put it on the record because there could be some concerns because of the size. They might imply that, it's for another function.
No,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. I mean, I like garages, don't get me wrong, because I never had enough for your guy. You got to have lots of garages, especially if you got cars and stuff. All right. The home size being large, you say it's an average size home. I'm not sure. Is that a ranch or is that a 2-story that's depicted?
It's a 2-story house.
2,500 square feet-ish?
The front part is 2 stories where the attached garage is, that's just 1 story.
Okay. All right. You answered the question about the retention ponds. Basically the bioretention area is where it's going to flow to. There's some concern. This is more of a town issue or I guess it'd be a planning board issue also, that Seneca was designed with only 4 homes in mind, the road. I don't know if that's true, but I'll be honest with you. I mean, obviously there is always a potential for further development there, actually years ago it was probably easier development than it is these days, but there was always a potential. Whether the road is not up to today's standards, that's something that the engineering department, highway and engineering department will have to work through. And I know that's a work in progress.
But
Right,
all
as far
the
as-
utilities were stubbed out for that lot.
There were utilities already stubbed out?
Correct.
Okay.
And the other 2 lots are coming off a river, so
Yeah.
technically it's 1 but like Ryan said, it has the utilities
Oh.
already there at the cul-de-sac.
Right, one additional home on Seneca and one additional home on River, basically.
Correct.
Right. Right. And I'm not downplaying that. That's just the facts. You got it. All right. And then there was a letter that we received tonight about, there was some previous flooding, so it's a historic, and we'll get an opportunity to take a look at that letter. Again, this is a work in progress. Everything doesn't have to be solved tonight, and we'll be having a public hearing shortly. All right. So the questions from the public that we heard, or comments, I guess we'd say on the online, basically focused about the path and the concern that the path may be too formal, whether or not it's paved. There should be some ownership or an easement or ownership from the town. And I think, again, that's something that you're working through. We don't need to solve that tonight. You're going to have a meeting with the attorneys, see what's best, what you feel is best for you. The town feels what's best for them, and hopefully come to some agreement, one way or another. And obviously, this board has the ultimate say. I'm pretty sure we have the ultimate say on that, but I'd like to, you guys to iron it all out. I do appreciate the Conservation Advisory Council and the concerns that, if it's an informal path owned by the applicant, I'm sure that you would allow people, but someday you might sell that house. And if you sell that and the person says, I don't want these people walking past my driveway or up through there, and they're going to put a fence up because they can, that's what we want to prevent.
Right.
That's my understanding.
Can I comment on that?
Right. And I did take a look, and the way it's, oh, yeah, sure, go
I was
ahead.
going to comment on that.
Yeah.
Mic a little closer.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I didn't hear you.
I was just
say-
going to comment on that. Our intent was always to leave that path. That's what we loved about the property. We love the neighborhood. We love the neighbors. And,
I'm sure you're not being picked up on the recording.
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
super
well, that was-
quiet.
Is that
You're just
on?
gonna have to
Sorry.
put your
All
mouth
right.
on the microphone.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, I was just saying that, that was one of the reasons we enjoyed this. We picked this lot, and we thought the value of having the park nearby, but the park for the community too. We never had an intent to close that off. If anything, we want to keep it
Yeah.
the natural organic state it's in.
Yep.
My concern came up when, we heard there was, I don't know if it came from Laura, that this multi-use path would be paved and would be open to the public as the public park. And then what Ms. Tiberio said, almost up to the basketball court. So as much as, I have 2 little children, there's a lot of kids in that neighborhood. And, as a parent, I'm sure with all parents, I think we all want to protect our children. I didn't want to open a path up that invited people, advertised our neighborhood. And that was my concern. I talked to my attorney, and he said you could deed this path as a deed restriction that would ride with the land. It would always be permanent. We have no intent of ever doing anything. I hope the community continues to use it. I just didn't want to advertise it to the public in
Yeah.
the park. That's all.
And then my view is that you need to get together with the attorneys and with the planning department. And it sounds like there's 3 options, right?
Right,
There'd be a
yeah.
path. What's the best option? And then they'll make a recommendation to the board, and it'll be our decision.
Yeah, so that was our intent.
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
And I can
express
see,
that.
I can understand what you're saying.
So that was our intent. And
Alright.
like I said, we made a lot of concessions. I've agreed to give the easements for the drainage. We consolidated the plan to 3 lots instead of 4. So we've made a lot of concessions. But again, for me, it's a personal issue with safety, and for not just myself, the community. And that's why we want to make sure it's done right. And
Yeah.
like the callers expressed, how can
Yep.
they guarantee if this path gets turned over to the town that you're going to guarantee that it's going to be maintained the way it is? And,
We'll work with the town to get some input from their position. So as we move forward with this, okay?
okay. Thank you.
And as you heard from, as a person online, one of them, quote, blacktop's not preferred. Well, again, we'll have to work through that, but I'm just saying that's what the feedback we're getting from people that utilize it or people that are in the neighborhood.
Sure.
There can, in fact, 2 different individuals, I believe, had that they worry about it and would like to keep it in natural state, but we'll talk more about that. Back through, it was like 3, actually, on my notes. All right, how about, I'm sorry for consuming Mr. McPartlin and Mr. Khan.
So I do want to shift gears a little bit to the wetlands and this concept of either an easement to the town or ownership to the town. Where are you parked on that?
Well, I'm in agreement with that. I think, there's been discussion that we talked about turning that over. We'd have to make the lot lot line adjustments and see how that would work out, what the town is looking for. But, you know, I think we can work something out to make sure that they have access to maintain that easement
And,
or ownership. if that's-
Yeah.
and just to be clear, the intent is that blue dash line that you see at the angle, it'd be from that blue line out to the outer edge of Seneca. So,
Right. I think that's where the water and sewer department, that's what they were recommending, right? Yeah.
right, and then
And,
that
and,
way,
and look, I mean, you said it, I said it, we're going to say it again bluntly, right? Ownership is the preference there.
yep, and I think just when we,
And again,
Meet,
the
we'll
motivation
figure it out.
behind it, at least as far as I'm concerned, to whatever extent this planning board now and in the future, right? I think the town has a responsibility to fix the drainage problems that you and the town designated engineer were able to calculate around. Right? And anything that facilitates doing of that, which is direct ownership of that wetland area.
agreed.
Anything, Mr. McPartlin?
I'm in agreement with, where where you stand on that, and I'm encouraged to hear that the applicant's on board with deeding that parcel or that area, which would have to be identified as a separate parcel, to the town. I had a couple just follow-up questions since we have the Mr. DeSalt here. I had a couple questions just about your private stormwater practice, if you'll indulge.
Sure.
I was just looking at some of the detail, and I wanted to point out a couple things that I noticed, and maybe I'm off, but it looks to me like there's a little bit of a difference, or maybe it's just a typo on the site plan. Top of berm for the bioretention basin on lot 2 says 291.5, but the detail chart says 292.5. So I thought you just want to, since we, every foot counts on that lot, maybe check that.
Okay.
I was curious to know if that under drain daylights to the southern end of the property, but I think that question was answered.
Actually, I misspoke earlier. It does drain to the wetland, not to the roadside ditch on lot 2 there. But that does daylight to the wetland edge, and that's an under drain for the bioretention material below the surface of the ground.
Right. And
That-
again, you're treating that, and it's designed to the 100-year, 110 and 100-year.
Correct. The under drain. So the system the practice is designed to pond the 90% of the storms to 6 inches. And then anything above that 6-inch depth overflows and will flow into the wetland area. So it retains that in the 6 inches of depth for 90% of the storms, which is the water quality volume that will percolate through this kind of filter media below the surface of the ground, and then that'll be discharged. That's the practice of cleaning impervious areas and the
Right.
contaminants.
Yeah, no, it's a great, far better than just a rain garden, right?
Correct.
It's a great
There's a
use.
step
and-
above rain gardens.
Yeah.
Rain gardens are purely volume-based.
So-
treatment practice.
Along the lines of that, that area below the filter media that fills up, I was looking at the detail, and I see that we've got a 6-inch perforated PVC below the filter media, and then the spec for the cross section is just 6 inches between the bottom of the filter media and the bottom of the under drain gravel. Is that right? I would have thought there would be additional under drain gravel above the PVC below the filter media.
No, the depth of the media is where your water, your storm water is percolating through that, and then the drainage below is to collect that and keep that practice for the
Okay,
next storm.
so the
So it's a
top of
collection.
the PVC comes right up to the bottom of the filter media. Because it's not drawn to scale, if that's the case.
No, it's not drawn. To
Okay, all right, just, more of a layman here, but just wanted to kind of understand that.
I mean, it could go up to the bottom of the filter media, but there's a stone envelope there to allow the stormwater to drain through the filter media and then collect and then discharge.
Okay. And then just more from a generic, as a generic comment, I think in walking the site, it seems as though there's a potential, especially since neighbors around the River Road Park have been, doing some of their own grading. It would seem that there's the potential for a good amount of flow to come off the northwestern corner, through that one 12-inch pipe culvert under the driveway on Lot 3. And I was just wondering, do you think there would be any harm in making that drain a little bigger, given the, the capacity constraint we've seen underneath Seneca is 36 inches?
Yeah. We follow the town code, which is the size of for the 25-year storm. Prime's last letter was to upsize that to the 100-year, to accommodate the 100-year storm. I think I don't see any problem why we shouldn't be able to do that.
Great. So the site, what do you think that equates to for sizing, or you don't know yet?
Guessing up at one size up to maybe 15-inch culvert.
Okay. Oh, great.
So, I mean, we'll definitely do the calculations and revise our report to represent that.
And last thing I thought of, you have a note on the site plan regarding connecting roof drain system for the house and garage to the bioretention areas.
Correct.
I thought it'd be nice to see that drawn on the plan. It might be on a different schedule that I didn't notice.
No, we had just added as a note, not knowing exactly what the roof orientation was. So
good point.
We can identify that on the plan to say representative, rooftop drainage should be directed towards the practice.
Okay.
Not an issue.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. Great comments. Appreciate it. All right. How about, do you have anything else? Your team at this time? I was going to ask Mr. Cole if he had anything or give us an update on where we stand with closing out comments from the TDE.
Yeah, no, we're good on our side. Thank you.
You agree, Mr. Cole?
Yeah, you pretty much covered everything that's in my December 28th letter already. So basically, they just mentioned that they're going to make sure that more of that large parking area and driveway for Lot 3 is directed to the bioretention. I had asked for the culverts to be upsized, especially based on the resident comment about, not wanting to have any of the drainage potentially pushed out into Seneca Road and causing a problem. So by increasing the culvert under the Lot 3 driveway, you're not creating a dam there that could kick the water out to the south. So that was good to hear. Let's see. I also agreed with the long-term plan for the town to own the larger wetland area. That gives you a lot more control and opportunity for evaluating alternatives. Can you slide the map down just a little bit? Because if you notice, now that creates a triangle between the Lot 2, I think easterly boundary, and the blue line. So that kind of becomes a no man's land. It's technically still part of Lot 3. Maybe it's worth looking at just, ending, getting rid of that line and ending the ownership at the corner of Lot 2. And because that gives the town, some more room to play with over there too. And it's really not a useful piece of land. So then I think the only other thing I had in my letter was just some basic text additions to the stormwater pollution prevention plan. Under the maintenance, inspection, and record keeping section, there was some reference to infiltration basins, but those aren't proposed here. So we do want to see sections added for bioretention in vegetated swales.
My only other comment on those was, and we're working in the Polsinelli subdivision right now to finalize the deeds and get the land transferred. And the privately owned stormwater detention ponds, we are doing a maintenance agreement to the private property owner that the private property owner has to maintain in perpetuity. And then there's also an easement to the town that if the private property owner doesn't maintain the private bioretention areas, the town can go in and fix it and then charge it to the taxes. That's the only way I know how to deal with them. That's how we're dealing with it on Polsinelli. And unless anybody has any other way, that'd be the way that I would propose to treat the private retention ponds. And it was a concern that came up with the CAC. If these are what's holding the water back from the new development, we have to make sure they're maintained in perpetuity.
Right. They're sized to be a certain volume for those, the different design storms. So if a property owner over time was to let them silt in and fill up, then it's not going to, attenuate the storms as well as it does when it's first built. So yeah, we did come up with that great idea to give the town that extra way to make sure there's no impact in the future.
I think it's very good.
As I recall, Laura, that Polsinelli one, the engineer quoted us maybe 20 or 30 years, he said, he thought.
For maintenance.
And then you might need to dig it up and put new fill in those. They were
The stone trenches.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. And the problem is if we don't have those things written into the deed, then in 20 years, a new owner buys it and they're like, what is it? So, I mean, we're trying as much as we can to put all future owners on notice because that the drainage is never going to become less of an issue. It's always going to become more. So we just have to keep figuring out how to make sure that anything that we allow now is maintained as best as we can. Hopefully this one doesn't have to get dug up though.
Future maintenance on this type of a stormwater
Yeah.
system is way easier than
The stone
Polsinelli.
trenches, yeah.
And there's subsurface, vaults there. So this is way easier in the future.
Because these are just going to be depressions that are probably planted with grass, right?
Well, there's a planting plan.
Oh,
in
there's-
the back. Yeah.
Yeah, there's-
Yeah.
There.
So that's all
That's
of
it?
my comments.
Okay, all right, and we'll, obviously, any open items, as you close them, we'll be looking forward to hearing that they're all closed as we move forward to, final approvals.
Yeah.
Of course.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Culfer.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience tonight also. All right, anything else from anybody at this point in time regarding 2890 River Road? Maybe we'll have the public hearing in 2 weeks, at 22nd, so.
Yeah, I think we discussed at CAC, they still need to do their public tree planting plan, which could come, at a next submittal. And
Well, when we do these updates, we can just put our proposed trees on that. Is
yeah,
that acceptable?
yeah.
That's fine.
Oh, and we would,
Now,
when you guys are ready, flag the limits of clearing and do a tree council site visit.
yeah, I've been working with the surveyor, we'll flag them later. We do have an issue we talked about this in the CAC meeting with some of the trees, especially along the river. So are we looking to offset them and put them on the Seneca side? Because we got the drainage ditch and the power lines there? Or can they just be inbound to the property?
Yeah, so our subdivision code said 2 trees per lot or every 60 feet.
Yep.
But if you are unable for utility reasons to be able to get them in front of the lots, we have allowed them to be planted
Inbound.
more heavily in a different place.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or
we
we can
did that
talk about
with,
putting them on the land that we're deeding over.
Yeah, we did that on Hilltop.
Yeah, and also, with my comments earlier about the geometry, I guess, or the shape or the access point, think about that,
Oh, that corner?
Yeah,
No,
it
Ryan
has
said
that
he'll
90-degree
slide it
bank.
over
Yeah,
me,
can you
so.
do something and straighten, whatever.
I got some free wetlands.
Whatever you think what's the best way to
Yep,
to get there and with minimal impact.
I agree.
And I don't know if this was actually in Matt and Ray's letter, or Matt Yetto and Ray Smith, the highway superintendent, and engineering superintendent's letter. But they also mentioned that where the town is requesting the public access easement for the existing path, that little corner, they would also like to squeeze in a utility easement there. Because there's a way to connect into the Seneca water line into River Road Park. And so if the town was going to be taking a public access easement there, we would like for the ability to put a water line in there in the future someday.
To go from Seneca to the park?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is that in his letter? I know he said it to me.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
I remember hearing about it.
They have water out there now?
Yeah, they have water that they can get from River Road.
And they have bathrooms. Is that tied into the
The bathrooms are tied into the existing water line.
to the wastewater treatment plant? So-
To the, no, the sewer does drain to the wastewater treatment plant there. It's not on the line that's maximized out. It's from the south line that comes through the school.
Can that serve as a dual purpose, easement and pathway?
Yeah, we see that a lot.
Why does he want to have that piping easement?
Because the current because he's always, so no one in the water department likes dead end water lines. Anytime that they can make a circuit for
We got
pressure
it.
and for flushing, they always
Got
like
it.
to do that. But I guess the one that runs to River is also small. It's like 1 inch or 1 1/4, and the Seneca Road one is more the size that they like. And so they would be able to run a 2-inch one to Seneca.
Okay, got it. He wants to close the loop with the,
He does like to
Piping.
not have dead ends
Okay.
as well.
understood.
Laura, do we have elevations on the houses yet or no?
No, I don't think that they've done that for this proposal yet.
Okay.
Do you have those, Michael,
Site plan.
at all?
We could provide them, yeah. Probably pretty
Yes.
close to giving you a set of building permit drawings too.
Site
so.
plan, site plan.
Got time. All right, anything else, anybody? All right, well, thank you again for your time. We'll look forward to public hearing on the 22nd. And again, thanks for your patience tonight. Let us work through that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yep.
I know it was late, but I do appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, and next up is
14:30.
1430 Balltown Road, site plan application, addition to the existing building, expansion of the parking lot. Yeah, Mr. Pleshy, the engineer for the applicant, is here, along with the rest of the team. How are you?
Good.
And we did get preliminary from the TD back in December.
Yep, let's pull that up.
Yeah.
You want to, how about you kick it off with an update? How's that sound?
Sounds great.
I know I think I'm starting to lose it where we're at myself, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, before the new year, right?
Yeah.
Everyone loses track with the holidays. So yeah, good evening, Luigi Palesci with ABD Engineers and Surveyors. Here to continue discussion, 1430 Balltown Road for Niskayuna District offices. Won't go in full detail, but we were here lastly on December 13th, or no, December 11th, I'm sorry, December 11th. Since then, we had the second TD review letter. We had a chance to review that. We've made some revisions to the site plan to date. I actually submitted them today at 5 o'clock to Laura and Clark.
Seen them yet?
But I'll go over those. The comments from the second letter basically were minor technical comments. Some of the changes that we've made to the plan was on the north side of the parking lot. We had a one-way. We actually made that two-way because if you recall, we had a few extra parking spaces to meet the minimum parking code. So we were able to go two-way and lose a couple parking spaces on the north end. So now we have full circulation of parking within the parking lot back there. So that was one of the changes. The other change was changing out the trees from red maples to white oak. That was a request made by the CAC, and we talked about that, and we had no problem changing that. The sidewalk I know the last site plan showed an additional sidewalk coming up from Balltown Road up to the main entrance. But I think we also discussed that there's an existing concrete sidewalk that leads into this site from Balltown Road on the north side of the driveway. And our latest proposal is to continue the sidewalk and provide a crosswalk right there at the center of the, where your main entrance is to the facility. We didn't feel that, having a dual sidewalk is necessary. It just adds more impervious. And, I know stormwater is always a big thing, so, try to reduce the impervious for the stormwater runoff to Balltown Road. What else? Traffic we discussed at the last meeting, and just going through some of the more important points of the TDE comments. They did review the stormwater. There was nothing major, just a couple typo from what was in my stormwater report versus what was on my detail for the peak elevations for your 1, 10, 25, and 100-year storm events. And again, we're, designing that as requested by the town. We'll certainly provide the stormwater maintenance agreement. That's pretty standard for this town. We just got to get a copy of the agreement so that we can finalize it for this project. And the last thing here he noted was a SWIP NOI, but that's only if you're disturbing over 1 acre. And our project disturbs less than 1 acre. So there's no NOI would be required for this project. So I believe we can answer and address all the TDE comments. If there's anything in particular that this board would like to further discuss, I'm here to answer them, hopefully.
Yeah, I'll start with Ms. Gold, the project lead, see if she has any additional questions or concerns.
No, I'd like to see the actual document. I did not receive it yet.
Yeah, I didn't know we got it. I just pulled it up from an email. But I think that the TDE did mention that this intersection is funky and that there's a potential that you could sort of create it as a 4-way intersection rather than this slip lane that goes out. If you guys aren't building the sidewalk from Balltown Road to the building, I would recommend that we look at this intersection to see if we can make it better.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, the only issue I see with that is the existing easements. So that has current easements with other adjoining property owners. So we'd have to look into that and discuss with the other adjoiners to see if they're okay with amending that easement.
The easement agreements currently have meets and bounds descriptions of all the roads.
I believe so, yes. We'll have to look into that. We didn't do the initial survey. It was Vince Osfeld. So, we can work with him and obtain the easements and look at that. But again, if we're going to make a change, anytime you make a change to the easements, you have to, agree with the party that the easement is with, so.
And what's the recommendation, Laura? Again, I'm looking.
Yeah, so the recommendation I think is to actually square this intersection up so it's more like a 4-way. And then you'd make this green space and this might go a little bit so that when you're a car, you just come in, it's like a normal 4-way intersection rather than having this slip lane that the cars sort of go to the right. And it almost looks like a full road.
Right, and to get to kinder, I guess it's kinder care, right? That's what's
Yeah,
behind
kinder
there.
care's up here.
So you would continue straight ahead to get to kinder care, right? And this, that slip lane just takes you into the, can you still get to kinder care through the slip lane? I guess is what I'm
I
asking.
don't think so. I think you'd have to go, if you took the slip lane, you would go right
Oh, I'm
and then
looking
you'd
at-
have to
okay.
go left and
A
then up
different drawing
again.
I'm looking at here. I see it. Yeah, okay.
I think it would make it a cleaner intersection, easier to see who's coming and going.
It gives you the ability to add a little more green space,
On the
It's like
corner.
Yes.
with
So-
more trees to be planted.
So you're saying just build that corner out, I guess that would be the northeast corner of the site out, and then, which in result would end with alignment. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. And then I'm just zoom in. Like what Luigi's saying is there's this existing concrete sidewalk that goes up along the side of Ace Hardware. And then the new plans show the crosswalk crossing here with a little bit of sidewalk coming down from the parking. I would still prefer this, like, a new sidewalk going down, but if it's a compromise, I think that the back intersection could definitely use some work too.
Well, I agree that the applicant that, having two sidewalks, side by side that are very little used, it just seems like an additional impervious surface, which we constantly are trying to minimize. So if we could, work on the intersection, I think that's a good compromise. And I'm okay with, personally, again, it's a vote, but I'm okay with the crosswalk and utilizing what's there existing. Is there any reason why we can't use that sidewalk?
No, I think it's open to the public.
Yeah, we'll work out the
Yeah.
easement there and see if we can adjust that sidewalk, or not sidewalk, the intersection.
So with your latest response, which they just received, that would go to the TDE to review, and then hopefully we'll hear back that, the items are closed, and you have, an action item to take a look at a couple of things that you mentioned tonight, including this intersection. So we're getting pretty close then, right?
I think so.
I think we decided there was no public hearing, right, required?
It's at your discretion, but I do believe at the last meeting.
Yeah, I think if I recall from the notes, I think we agreed that we wouldn't have a public hearing. So
That's what I recall.
professional
as
office to professional office.
Right.
Traffic was minimal, four count, AM, PM for each. So I thought we were pretty good with that. The biggest concern I heard last meeting, it was about, obviously the, I guess it's retention or detention in the front yard and what that's going to look like. It sounds like you increased it to plantings. So visually it looks, I guess, hidden. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And as you stated, it was a result of increasing the analysis to a 100-year storm, doing it underground and maintaining or expanding the underground storage that you had would be quite costly.
Correct.
And I do have one question on the loss of the 2 parking spaces. I know it meets code. Is it going to meet the district's needs?
Yes,
Okay, because that's the big issue for me.
absolutely. Yep.
Well, and I thought one of the other comments from the TDE was that he wanted to actually see the planting plan, not the note that just says landscape area with lilies, roses, fountain grasses, and landscaping boulders. Did you do a more formal planting plan?
I have not, but I certainly can.
Okay.
I thought a note would suffice.
Yeah, I think if you read, he wanted a formal planting plan just
Okay.
to see
Sounded that
density and
way.
stuff. Yeah.
That's easy enough.
And that's what we typically do, so. Anything else you can think of, Ms. Gold or Laura or anybody?
No, I think we're getting there. Not quite there yet, but
All right, so is it too soon for tentative? Because, we just got this information today. We got 2 weeks, or do we,
Well, so we would have to send this to the TDE, and he has to review a couple more things.
and come back to us?
Yeah.
I think that would be rushing the TD.
I think it would be tough. I don't mind preparing one, but I think the likelihood of it being ready is low.
And being that it's so minor technical items, right? And the time frame that these guys have to get this thing completed, right, for the school season there. I don't know if there's a way to make a condition or at least get us to a point where, like, I can have these resolved this week and get it to you by the end of the week. And again, they're minor. But if there's a way that you can set
Yeah.
us up to
I'm just
get
trying to think,
approvals
at the
at
end
the
of the
next
week would
meeting, that
be,
would be appreciated.
Yeah, I think planning office was it. We've been working on this on and off.
Yeah, so we have
It's like-
January 22nd and February 12th are our next 2 meetings.
Yeah.
I don't see an issue with February 12th. I think the 22nd will be tough.
Well, there's a holiday. I don't know if the TD takes that holiday, but a lot of people do.
Well, I mean, the only other option, Laura and Leslie, is that, we call for a tentative resolution, and if the applicant submits things late, that doesn't allow appropriate time to have the review, we'll just pull the resolution. That's the other option.
I can live with that. Bit of a burden on the planning office.
But that really is up to you. You say the end of the week, but, we trust you, but we hear that a lot.
Sure. No,
when,
understood.
Things come in, and then everybody's trying to scurry to be able to review it in time to do a thorough job, And then if the TD obviously doesn't get back to us in sufficient time, and then we'd also pull it, so it wouldn't be just you, both parties would have to provide information. But if that's the
Yeah,
case,
there's not much more to go, so
Yeah.
I did what I could today just to be prepared for tonight, understanding I just got it to you today. So
Yep.
we'll keep working on it and get it to you.
Yep, and we'll get out, I guess, probably tomorrow to the TDE, anything that was submitted tonight, right?
I mean, what I would suggest to Luigi is do the planting plan and see if you can realign the intersection and then submit it to us, because that'll address more of those comments. And that way it should streamline the TDE's review.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think that there's still some stuff missing that I can identify just from looking at it at the meeting on the fly. So
Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll revise for tomorrow. But again, just, I don't know how quickly we can adjust that easement, in that intersection, but we'll certainly put a plan together that would show you if we got that resolved, this is what the intersection would look like.
Right, and there's a potential it may not be resolved, is what you're saying then also.
Yeah, I don't know. We got to look into that easement for sure, but
So then what we'd need is, I guess we need a backup plan, right? The backup plan would be what we have here today. Is that?
that's correct. Yeah, it's been functioning as is for a long time, and, I don't know why we would change it, but, that's what the board's asking.
Yeah, there's a little messy up in that area.
Yeah. I think the goal is to try to get this completed and approved so that construction can begin to meet the time frame. They're really under the gun here.
First
so.
time we've heard that,
Yep.
do a good job on your plans. Makes a big difference.
Okay, sorry. Well, planning office will do their best to draft a tentative resolution, and assuming that you turn it around and the TDE is capable of turning around. If the planning department tells the board that it was cutting it too close to do a thorough review, then we're going to pull the resolution, and it won't be till the first meeting in February. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Anything else? No? All right.
All right.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
patience tonight. Again, thank you. All right. And we'll have to thank Market 32, Price Chopper personnel too, because that's up next. 2333 Knott Street East, site plan application tenant change for Market 32 Grocery. And we believe we have some people online to speak to that tonight. Let's see if we can get them. They're still there and all that. Yeah.
Hold on.
The easy part of this is we know the use is appropriate.
Nope. I guess everyone online was for Seneca because they are now officially all gone.
You're all gone?
And we have
So, you're here.
Yes,
Sorry.
I'm here. That's okay.
I'm sorry about
My
that.
name's Tom Lee. I'm a design project manager with Price Chopper.
What was your last name, Tom, again?
Sorry?
Lee, did you say?
Lee, L-E-E.
Okay,
Thomas
Tom,
Lee.
thank you for coming tonight. And again, thank you for hanging out with us.
No problem at all. So I received an email from Clark, which listed a number of items that was discussed in the previous meeting that we needed to provide responses to and updated drawings to. The first item being provide site plan and cart corral location plan. And in page 1 and page 2 of the PDF that we submitted, page 1 is an overall site plan, which indicates where we would like to place our grocery pickup signage wayfinding plan. There are 5 locations where we would place those across the site. There is also a detail of those signs farther into the package, which shows those signs as well as size of those signs. Yep. And the type of sign. The A, B, and C corresponds to left, right, or straight. These are the same signs that we installed at our Niska Unistore on Balltown Road that was submitted for approval 2 years ago, I think, when we renovated that store. As far as the cart corrals go, we plan on reusing the existing cart corrals that were used by ShopRite. The thing that we would like to do is move them in a location in the site plan forward towards the front of the store. Those cart corrals, again, will be as is. Unfortunately, one of them was damaged a couple weeks ago with a dad who was working with his son to do some learning how to drive a car. One of them was hit and damaged. We'll replace that cart corral with another cart corral of similar look. One of the things that we will do with the cart corrals is we'll paint the metal roof, which is a green metal roof. We'll paint it with a Market 32 brand color. The bottom of the cart corrals have a fiberglass, ugly looking panel to them. We'll look to put a decor panel on each side of the cart corral, more in tune with the Market 32 brand.
Would that have advertisements on it, or will it just be a color change,
It'll just be a color change.
color or material? Right.
Yeah. We haven't developed that yet. It'll be something new that we would incorporate that.
I'm curious why move the corrals closer?
We feel they're too far away from the store. It's based upon some feedback we get from our customers on other projects that we do, having them closer to the front entrance and closer to where most of the customers will park. That's why we're suggesting moving them. We're moving them only 18 feet in two locations closer to the store, and then the other one, 1, 2, 3, 4, so 36 feet closer to the store. We're not going to reduce the number of parking stalls. We're just going to move them. Let's see here. Let's stay with the grocery pickup. So on the site plan, this site plan that we have here, currently there are 4 parking spaces on the left-hand side labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's where ShopRite had their grocery pickup program sign stalls. We're planning on using those same 4 locations. Our grocery pickup, what we call e-commerce room, is up to the north of that, right? So that our teammates can come out through that existing exterior door underneath the canopy and then bring the groceries out to our customers in those 4 stalls. There was a comment about lighting, site lighting. We do not plan on touching any of the existing site lights. So in red, I've indicated where the tall parking lot poles, their double head lights are located on the site. We're going to leave those as is. And then I think up by the grocery pickup, there's one a little farther north. Oh yeah, there's some in that island. There's some existing decorative light poles that we'll leave those in place. And then there's one up in the walk area. And again, we'll leave those as they are. Let's see. Proposed crosswalks and striping. I know that Clark provided us a drawing that talks about where you would like us to paint the crosswalks, and we'll take care of that. We're in negotiation with our landlord, who will take care of that. In addition to that, the completed sidewalk, apparently that was never done as part of the original site plan approval. So we're in negotiations with our landlord to take care of that also. In addition to the crosswalk, on page 3, yes, go back one more, sorry. So there's a large green area in the front of the store. What we're looking to do is, part of our Market 32 remodel, we like to bring our customers in through the front entrance directly into our fresh area where our produce program is. Currently, on the far right-hand side, there's an entrance that's kind of hidden from customers' view. And then there's another one a little bit farther over to the left in a small little triangle. Again, that's a little hidden from our customer view. So what we'd like to do is close in that entrance on the right-hand side and then provide a new entrance with an automatic door on the front of the building. So what we would propose to do with that is to provide a striped area in front of the store and provide a stop sign on each side of that so that our any traffic going across the front of the store will stop on each side of that newly striped area leading to the front entrance. In addition to that, because the curb line is about 5 feet off of the facade of the building, we would like to place 4 concrete-filled bollards, and we would put a brown plastic cover on them, which is kind of a Market 32 brand. Sometimes the concrete-filled painted steel bollards will have a tendency to rust. So we would like to place 4 of those in front of that entrance so that there's a physical break allowing our customers to stop and be protected at that area. And then the next page kind of indicate where that new entranceway is. It's right underneath that small gable end on the right-hand side of the store. What I didn't do is there was a request for dimension images for the stop sign. I didn't provide that. I will. I'll follow up with that. And then there's a freestanding stop sign that would be in that island picking up traffic that would come from west to east. We've also talked about in some of our stores, we stencil in on the pavement a stop, the word stop on both sides of, so there would be one right below that green text, just to the left of the stop sign. And then similarly on the other side, there's a stop sign on that column. We would entertain putting stencil letters on the pavement that says stop. And let's see, the painted, the proposed painted we talked about, extending the sidewalk and the landscaping in the front islands. It is in pretty bad shape. A lot of damage due to snow being piled up probably across those over all the years. And we'll make sure before the reopening, which we're planning on May, June timeframe, that all would be addressed.
I trust you know that a lot of people are hoping for an earlier opening than that.
I'm sorry, say it again.
A lot of people are hoping for an earlier opening.
Yeah. Well, we have 4 of them that we're going to be doing. So this is our first priority one.
They could always jump the bus and go down Balltown.
The one on the bottom end of Balltown isn't as convenient for a lot of people.
Yeah. And then
go ahead.
I had a brief meeting with Clark last week where we started talking about exterior building signage, which will be a separate package that we'll submit to the town for exterior building signage for review and approval. Be similar to what we did in our Niski unit store with a number of department signs on the facade. Yeah, there it is right there.
Yeah, we have it in our packet. We have it in our packet, and Clark did quite a bit of analysis on it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm working on a total square footage of all the individual signs, as well as separating the Market 32 that's in the middle and the large gable end in terms of what's the square footage of the 32 in green being a logo. And then the 2 elevations on the left-hand side where there's a new sign that says Market 32 Place, separating the green 32 on those because that's also considered a logo. Now, this corner pier, did I include a rendering of that?
Yeah, I feel like you have a lot in here. That's
Yes.
the Balltown
that's
Road one.
That's
Yeah, you gotta go back farther.
Nope.
maybe I
Yes,
didn't
sir.
include that. I have that. Did I print that out for myself?
Clark, jump in because you did all the work on this one, which you do for most of the projects.
Including comparisons with what ShopRite had and what you've got at Mohawk.
What's that?
Mr. Henry did listings of both what you're proposing for this site, what you have at Mohawk, and what ShopRite had at this site.
Okay.
It's all in his.
Yeah, the agenda statement's
Okay.
posted on our website, by the way. You can go take a look at all the same paperwork that we get. It's available.
He's done a lot of the figuring for you already.
Yeah, if those are the finals, yes, it's true.
I also have, oh, yeah, here's what I was looking for. So here's that corner building monument that said ShopRite Square on it at one time, and those letters are gone.
All
So
right,
we're
and those are the two that were on the left of the thing that
Yes.
you're showing? Okay, I thought they were new, but no, okay.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing, except for the new signage on the, near the market itself. You're just placing Market 32 where there was ShopRite signs,
Correct.
whether it be the monument signs out front or on the corner there, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and we have, I'm working on the details associated with there's a pylon sign on 146. There
Yep.
are two smaller monument signs right off of Knott Street East at the main entrance, and then one farther down closer to here. So we've got, I'm working on the graphics for that. So you'll see that everything is picking up our Market 32 brand. So there's will be a lot of similarity in what all the signs look like.
Okay.
Well, we've just, oh,
Go ahead.
we're gonna.
Yeah. Laura, could you pull up the picture that shows the driveway and the green area that was going to be right there? Go back to.
Yeah.
That one. Okay. So one of the things that this plaza has always done is the sidewalk that's up against the building is woefully inadequate. And this completely divides any pedestrian access that you had if you came in at one end of the plaza and you wanted to go down to the east end of the plaza. So what could happen, or used to happen, was you could enter at the end here where the bottle redemption sign was, and you could go all the way through the gallery and you could come out the other end. If the entrance is moved and you don't maintain that east entrance, it will segregate a lot of the businesses if somebody wanted to walk from one end to the other. Does that make sense?
Yes. We will be, so that long vestibule, that inside the building you're talking about.
Right.
So we are separating that long vestibule where ShopRite, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we are closing that in because of the need for our funeral department, our guest services. So you're right. We are physically separating that up so
Right.
someone can't come in one side and walk all the way across to get to the other side.
Right. So maybe it's worth exploring a deeper sidewalk in front of the store, because currently I think it's under 4 feet, or it's pretty close.
You know what? I measured that and I didn't bring that with me. I
Yeah.
thought it was closer to 5 feet.
Okay, maybe it is, but it's pretty narrow.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in the middle of an area where if you're going to move the entrance and make find entry space with some bollards and facing the parking lot, which I think is good, maybe this is an opportunity where the yellow striping is, and maybe pull a sidewalk out that makes it just a little bit more inviting. So that if somebody did want to, quite a bit of customers that come from buses,
Yes.
it's part of the bus lane.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of people that do walk the plaza. They don't necessarily park, move again, park like they do at Mohawk Commons. They move around their vehicle more than they walk down there.
Yeah.
Here, a lot of people park and walk. So they would have the opportunity to extend that sidewalk. I think it may be beneficial that like internal gallery is going to be absorbed with the footprint of the store.
Correct. Yes. I have noticed a lot of people do walk down that sidewalk. I can say that only from my experience that when I'm doing some field work now that ShopRite's closed, people are using that sidewalk. So I couldn't tell you how many of those people would walk into the store and then come out the other end. So the only concern I would have is, would we be running into trouble with the width of the roadways heading east and west, and then the need for a fire lane in front of it by expanding that sidewalk?
I don't think so.
I'm just a little confused on points of ingress and egress. You have a new main entrance that you're proposing with the bollards. Will the door that's on the west side be closed off in the
No.
future? So you'll still be able to walk through the store to get from
Yes,
that
but you
one
would have to
side.
go into the store.
You have to go in the
versus
store
staying
instead
there.
of the
Right.
hallway,
Yeah.
which
instead
is
of staying
basically a
at the-
store because they had all sorts of product out there anyway in the carts.
Yeah,
But it's just, you're not walking through, well, I guess less people or people shopping, I guess.
yeah. We always
So you
look
still
at
could
those.
walk through, David, but you're going to come out where that, so another option would be where you come out of the main entrance, just to, make sure that that sidewalk is either wide enough or expand it or no product, because I believe ShopRite probably.
Had product all along
Exactly,
the edge.
Probably in violation, I would
which-
assume,
yeah.
too. But, they seasonal stuff and
Oh,
they would block that whole sidewalk.
we wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
If we, so this store is a little unique in our Price Chopper stores that we convert to a Market 32. A lot of times we have a large canopy overhang along the front of the store. Niskayuna, perfect example.
Yep, flowers.
Where we had
whatever,
that. So we
pumpkins.
put the flowers out there underneath the canopy. Here, we wouldn't have that luxury. Even over on the left-hand side of the store where the canopy returns north and then west, picking up the adjacent to the west, it's too far away from where we would, it would be too much manpower to bring and put flowers and whatnot over on that left-hand side. It would cost us too much
Yeah.
money to
But
merchandise.
to David's point, if, even though you're walking in the store, as long as there's nothing out on the sidewalk, like,
Right.
which has been inhibits people, because then they end up walking in the road
Right.
if they don't go to the
Yeah.
inside.
One of the reasons why I put the stop sign on the masonry column of the canopy on the far right-hand side was if I put a sign like the freestanding sign in the island, it's too much of an obstruction. People have to on that sign to get around that. So by placing it on the brick column, then I don't have to worry about that becoming an obstruction for someone walking across in front of the store.
And it's far less apt to get damaged there.
Say again?
Far less apt to be damaged there.
Yeah,
either.
yes, true. Yes, yeah. So I certainly will give it some thought about what we might be able to do. Certainly at that front entryway to increase the depth of someone coming out that door to where
Yeah,
the
just at least,
traffic would be.
yeah, at least to get you over to the crosswalk there,
Yeah.
Because, that, like you said, the door's going away and there's kind of be like a dead zone there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any plans for anything to go in there, bike racks or anything?
We don't. No, we would want to leave it as an open sidewalk, but
But to
certainly.
David's point, even if you walk through the store, if you come out that door, and you want to go, the other way, we got to keep the sidewalk clear, I guess is the
Yes,
bottom line.
yeah. And if we get their customers to walk into the store, maybe they'll purchase something
On
as
the
they
way
go
by,
into the
yeah.
store,
Pack of gum.
all the way around.
One thing I'd like to hear about, I'm not sure where you're at, but the thing, just like, we want to talk about signage, I guess we can save that to the end, but just, obviously everything's getting painted, your painting scheme for your corporate colors and everything. Could you just kind of summarize that for us?
Yeah, yep. So if you go back to the exterior elevation, yeah, maybe zoom in on the centerpiece that shows the Market 32. So we have a traditional Market 32 brand color scheme where we introduce two tones of gray on our facades, a lighter gray at the base of the building, a darker gray above. In this case, it would be from the window sills up would be a darker gray. In the middle where the Market 32 is, we introduce, in this particular case, we're showing an EIFS material, but we may change that. It'll be a scored EIFS multicolored panel, which is our standard brand for Market 32s. Now, we may change it from an EIFS to a metal panel, but we haven't finalized that part of it. But that would be our brand identity for the store. The food fair letters, the florist letters, the welcome letters, those would all be just white Sintra letters, no illumination on them. The Market 32 sign in the middle would be an internally illuminated sign. To the left, the corner building that has the Market 32 place, those would be internally illuminated signs there also.
Okay, how about the welcome?
What's that?
The welcome, will that be lighted?
No, that won't be a lighted sign.
Okay.
rats, you just made me think of something. I mean, we would not introduce a welcome sign over in that secondary entrance because we really want that to be a secondary entrance. We want our customers to come into fresh. So by not highlighting it, ShopRite had an entrance sign there. We wouldn't do that. What we are working with the landlord, right now there's a green shingled roof on this. There is green finished aluminum storefront windows along this as well as the rest of the plaza. And there's other components on the exterior facade that's green. We're going to apply a black finish over the green. The green doesn't match our brand, and we'd like to change it to be black, which is also another color that we use in our Market 32 brand. And we would only look to do that on our store. So we're still working with a landlord to get their approval to do that. We would not replace the green shingles. If we had more money to invest in this store, we would replace it with a metal standing seam roof, but we don't have the kind of funds to go that far with this renovation.
So you're saying you'd basically paint the roof is what you're saying?
What's that?
So you'd paint the roof is what you're saying?
We would put a metal standing seam roof up, and it would be, in this case, it would be a pre-finished.
No, you are, or you would like, you are going to do that?
No, we're not.
Not going to do it?
No,
So-
we're going to leave the green.
And that was kind of where I was going with this, what's there now versus what the future holds. So the roof is going to stay the same?
Yes. So as much as, what's that?
But the windows trim well.
But
Okay.
again, if we can get, we've asked the landlord, I haven't heard final resolution on how the landlord will
You
deal
just
with
have to
that.
be careful. And Laura can tell you, Town Center Overlay District has certain restrictions on shiny colors, earth tones are preferred, so on and so forth. And I assume black is okay. So just to be careful, if you have any questions, call the planning office or take a
Yes.
look at our code, that
Yeah.
section for Town Center Overlay. Make sure you got, before you go too deep, I guess is what I'm saying. Because, obviously I just want it to blend. My point in asking is just want to be able to, the whole site to blend well together. That's all.
Yeah.
And follow the Town Center Overlay District requirements.
Yeah, I just came to find out to the right-hand side of our store, all the way through the rest of the development is a different landlord. It's not the same landlord that from the right-hand side of our store all the way towards Bolton Road is a different landlord.
Yep.
And they've been very receptive with the changes that we're proposing. The changing of the green aluminum was just presented to them just before Christmas.
Okay. All right, so and so we can go over to, obviously, Balltown Road and take a look at the mall comments. Basically that's what you're,
Yeah.
and,
I don't know if I provided, I brought photos of that with.
yeah, there's some stuff in there. Plus,
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So there we had probably was a copper or a blue standing seam metal roof existing on that we painted a darker gray. And then you see the Market 32 in the middle. That in that store, it's a curtain wall. And we applied some window film over those individual pieces of window where the Market 32 is. So it's similar, but not the same.
Yep.
In the store. And we have less area to paint. We're just going to paint the front facade. There is really no side facade. Again, we will maintain the existing automatic door that served as our grocery pickup. We're going to keep that in place. And again, that'll be where our customers will, where our teammates will bring our grocery pickup program out to there are several windows in the front facade that are shown as a dark gray. That'll be because we're building construction inside the vestibule area, and we don't want to be able to see the backside of the metal studs. So we'll frost that glass, so you won't be able to see.
how about Bottle Redemption? It's currently outside. Is that going to stay the same?
Yeah, and actually that's the green area. Sorry, I forgot to mention that green color on the left-hand side. Yes. So in the very first window is where the existing reverse vending machines were, and that's where we're going to put ours. But to make it look correct in between the two vertical piers on each side, that's where the green is. So that's our representation, that the recycling center's there. And then we also have the letters there to let our teammates know that that's where the recycling it will be held.
The, I don't know if board has any question. That one thing is, obviously science, it sounds like it's a work in progress. I know Clark's been working on determining the square footage of signs, what waivers are markedly required. Is that still a work in progress, or does he have everything he
For the
needs?
exterior signs, he does not.
He does
I
not.
still owe him a couple pieces on what's classified as a logo
Okay.
and what's not a logo.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm working on.
And Clark is welcome to jump in, and we appreciate his help here. But just summarizing what I saw in the agenda statement is that, we got some, sounds like ShopRite, is good unit use, signs per amount of square footage per linear foot, and they normalized that. ShopRite was in the area like 0.54 square foot of sign per linear foot. Mohawk Commons is at 0.75. And with the new proposals, tentative, it's a work in progress, was at 1.14 square foot per linear foot. So it kind of jumped out that is there a lot of signs here, or are the signs bigger based on the length of the building?
Right.
So if it's still a work in progress, I understand, but, please give a hard look at whether there's, if they can be reduced in size to minimize the waiver.
So if you go back to that facade, what we've done in the past, reducing the number of department signs that we have on the front facade is not going to be a problem. That's what I need to do. You'll see all those little signs above almost each section of the storefront. To get rid of some of those, to get down to where we need to be is not going to be a problem.
Well, just think about that. I mean, to me, just personally, as a shopper, right? I don't pay attention to those signs, to me, they don't, not just me, maybe somebody else does. I mean, fanfare or the entrance, welcome to recycling center is, those things are important to me. Just if we can minimize signs because it's in the town center overlay district is my point. And I don't know how the rest of the board or anybody feels about that, but if we can minimize or reduce size to minimize the waiver, should be our goal.
Yep.
And we understand you have corporate logos and requirements, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, the ones that are most important to us would be the Market 32 sign, the Marketplace, and then the welcome sign.
Yep.
All the rest of this stuff is open for, and like you said, the recycling center is a good one too.
We do a lot of work where we try to minimize signs as board, so I would suggest that everybody take a hard look at that too.
Well, I'm going to take a different position on that because I like the signs saying what's in the store. Not all of them have pharmacies. If you don't see the sign out, then it's not there.
Yeah, so
That kind of thing.
if I had a pharmacy in any of our stores, we have a pharmacy by, at least in New York State, I'm required by law to have a pharmacy there. We don't have one in this particular location. At one time, ShopRite had a pharmacy in there.
So there's no pharmacy
And
here.
I'm not sure they all have bakery.
What's that?
I don't know that they all have bakery either.
We do in all our stores, so we would have,
Well, there's one that for a while did, maybe. I'm going back a bunch of years.
Well, we can look at them. There's like,
I wouldn't put a category sign on the front facade if I didn't have it in the department. Yeah.
and it's a grocery market, right? Dairy, bakery, deli and cheese. I would assume all those are in there, right?
Is it going to have a Starbucks?
No, we will not have a Starbucks.
So it has cafe on
That-
there.
So that's
It
what we
has-
consider our seating area
Yeah.
on the
like
far
the
right-hand
one in
side of
Mohawk.
the plan. It's our cafe seating area. And we didn't put a Starbucks. We had that kiosk that's right there too. So it wouldn't have made sense for us to put a Starbucks in.
Yeah, because the Starbucks is right across
Yeah.
the street there. Yeah.
And putting a Starbucks in a store is very, very expensive.
But most people do like to know what's in the store. It's become a
Well,
good way to figure out whether you need to go in for something or if you can accommodate
Yeah.
something else.
I mean,
Once you're a regular shopper, you don't need it, but when you're new to the store,
well,
I'll certainly be sensitive to the number and square.
yeah, well,
footage.
I mean, to your point, Leslie, I mean, what's food fare? Food, it's a grocery store. I mean, what do you expect to be in there? I mean,
So these, the word food fair deli.
I mean, so florist, that's unique. Cafe's unique,
Well, I'm sorry, didn't you just say you wanted to decrease the signs?
Yeah, decrease. Yeah.
So I don't know why we would need all of those, with all due respect.
Those letters are also inside the
Yeah,
store.
I'm just
above the
suggesting, again, it's a
departments.
board decision, but, you know, if we're trying to minimize waivers, those are things we ask everybody to look at. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, understand.
So
Certainly.
if you're still a work in progress on sign, I'm not going to have Clark jump in and tell us all the waivers. Let's all just take a look at the packet and we get an updated thing from you. We're going to, sooner or later, we're going to have to act on it.
And I will note, I'm very pleased to see a front entrance instead of just side entrances. I think some people will miss that eastern entrance, but I understand why. But a lot of people new on the site would look at it like, how do I get in there? So I think it's nice to have it up front where you can identify it from the parking lot.
I like that.
And the other
too.
thing too, I try to relate where
I
the
do too.
departments are in the store,
Yep.
Put the cafe over on the right-hand
Yep.
side of the building because that's where the cafe is, the
Right.
floor is store.
Mhm.
Dairy is over on the far left-hand side of the store.
Just think about it. I'm
Yeah,
just,
no, certainly will do.
in
Yep.
fact, I'm surprised somebody else on the board, because usually the signage is a real tough one, whatever, everybody kind of jumps on it, right?
I think I sort of gave up the fight because
It's a topic of
voted for
discussion
things I
on
didn't
every
want in the
single
first
store that
place.
we present to the town. So not a problem, not a problem.
We voted? you
the,
said? No.
the original goal was to try and keep a little signage throughout here, more consistent, and that went out the windows almost immediately. So I'm a little more flexible than I used to be.
The code changed. You used to not be able to have internally lit signs in the town center overlay, and the code changed, and now you are allowed.
I think what we really wanted was to get rid of neon.
Yeah, the internally lit I find ends up being, I mean, in my opinion, okay, especially because this plaza is set far back from Balltown Road. And so sometimes when we're trying to fill tenants, I want to make sure that people can see them.
Yeah, the external lit ones have problems too with reflection and, you know, plus you got to see the fixture versus the internally lit, you know?
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's enough vacant tenant spaces in this whole development here. I know a new one just opened up towards the front. I forgot what that was.
It's actually, when you guys move in May or June, it's going to be completely full from Market 32 to Balltown Road. And then the only vacancy that's going to be remaining is,
Right.
yeah,
yes.
it's the part that goes towards Town Hall. The top part is vacant still.
Yep.
Yeah, but-
And because of you guys coming, they're going to say, wow, it's going to get busier and there's more value in being there.
Right.
Because of you being there.
Right.
I had a couple questions about the rear of your building, the north side.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, no plan changes to the
That's
exterior
correct.
there.
That's correct.
And
The back side of the
internally
building.
even kind of seems to work for you. Receiving is where it
Yeah,
belongs and everything.
correct. We're not going to change any of that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
One thing I'd ask you to be sensitive to is that this facade is clearly visible from the school property. I've always noticed it feels to me like a bit of an eyesore, frankly. It's just fact of the matter. It's right up against the school property and there's not really much landscape buffer. To the extent that you have the land available or you have any sort of idea of how to change or improve the facade to maybe blend a little better, that would be nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it has a graffiti tag on the back of it right now.
Oh, that's what the satellite imagery shows.
Yeah, I think even I noticed it the other day.
Yeah,
There's
I
a
agree.
graffiti tag on the back of the building.
If you take a look at our store farther down on Balltown Road, the back of that building stayed the same price chopper colors. We
But
changed the Balltown
It's,
Road. and
it's
in
below the road for the most
Yeah.
part, so
Yes.
it's not as offensive.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
this is white.
Yes,
I don't
it
know
is
if that
white.
has like a energy value
No,
or
probably not.
anything.
No.
I don't
it's just-
know, what the rest of the board would feel about, a more of a earth tone or darker color might
Yeah,
even help with
Certainly.
minimizing the
Yeah.
visual impact.
Yeah. So I'll certainly bring that back to leadership and see what
comment.
thoughts are there.
Let's take a look. I haven't looked at the back personally in a while.
I just drove by there. I didn't, it was dark, so I didn't notice the color, but there's 2 bays to receive and that's all going to stay.
Well, the students seem to be just drawn to the shop regardless. And I think the home ec teacher even sends them there.
What's that?
I think the home ec teacher may be sending them there.
Yeah, a lot of students.
Because I've seen them in with shopping lists that they need to get.
Cool.
All right, so we're at, sounds like you're gonna decide where you stand on signage so that Clark can do his final analysis, so we know where we stand on waivers, right?
Yep.
Um,
What I was told was that would be outside of what we need in order for us to get the tenant change taken care of.
That's true. We could always
Okay.
condition
I wasn't
signage. if
trying
it's a work
to
in pro- Nope, that's right.
minimize
No,
it.
it's
We
a good
will
point.
do that, but
That's
yeah.
a good point.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, I know you want to get going here too.
Correct.
So we can, you know, that's something that can always be conditioned. We have done that in the past. It's just the big picture, whether there's any concerns from the board with the change we discussed. I mean, it sounds like the color scheme, the roof staying the same, you know, the window trim to a darker, you know, black. I mean, that seems reasonable. I mean,
Marker signs are growing by 2 feet, and I was wondering why.
I'm sorry, I'm having a
The marker signs,
you need to put your
they're going
microphone
from 4
forward.
feet to 6.
Say that again, please.
The marker signs are going from 4 feet to 6. I'm wondering why.
From 4 feet to 6.
Yep.
Compared with ShopRite.
Compared to ShopRite, the signs that tell you, you know, which pickup signs, those things that, you know, they're.
From 4 to 6?
From 4 feet to 6
So
feet.
ShopRite's grocery pickup signs were 4 feet, and yours are proposed, I believe, at 6 feet. Is that Clark 16 inches by 16 inches? Is that I'm thinking 6? Probably.
That's what's in the packet, so that's what I'm going by.
So we have to take a look at that if we haven't, right?
Oh, the pickup signs you're talking about?
Yeah.
What did I say they were? They're
They're currently 4 feet, and they would be
36 inches tall. Oh, right. 4 feet tall by 12 inches wide. So they're 4 feet each. Yeah.
4 square feet.
Each sign is 4 square feet.
Remember when, Laura, maybe you remember Target over in
think
Mohawk
that's what I'm
Commons? We
talking
had,
about.
we had lots of discussion about the height of the signs. I can't remember where we ended up on all that.
Get so many of
We ended up allowing it because I think we just decided when they're, I mean, I think it should end up probably being a code change, because when the cars are all parked and the signs can't be higher than 4 feet,
Can't see them.
you can't really even see them. So I think we've generally allowed the directional signs to be higher recently. We allowed it at 1769 Union Street and I believe at Target. And when we open up our zoning code, we probably want to look at that again, because I think that most directional signs are a little bit taller than they used to be. 'Cause our cars keep getting bigger. So the directional signs.
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah, the directional
Thing
signs.
is markers, but yeah.
I think in Mohawk Commons, we looked at even putting in a light fixture to highlight those parking stalls with another sign on it too at one time. And I'm pretty sure we got rid of that and just opted to have these signs right there.
Mhm.
Okay, so for the tenant change, where do we stand?
We'll have to sort out how many waivers they're actually looking
Well,
for.
again, we can work on the signage as a condition. If the tenant change is a priority in order to get a building permit and to start, like with the entranceway and the things, I'm okay with having a resolution for the tenant change only with the condition that the signage still has to be approved. If that's.
Sure.
As long as we're okay with everything else, I am.
Yeah.
I'm fine with moving the cart corrals and all of that.
Yeah, we might have to, and I think we might have had a condition before with ShopRite about putting sales items along the sidewalk, and they just disregarded it. And we've had that at other locations too. So, it might be a condition that we suggest,
Yeah.
to,
I don't foresee us putting anything in.
yeah, we want
windows
people to
that
be able
talks
to walk,
about
to Dave's
sales
point,
and
it's already marginal. And then to put things out there, potting soil and plants and stuff, kind of.
They're not planning LP tanks anywhere.
Say that again?
They're not planning LP tanks anywhere.
No.
Okay, so tentative resolution for tenant change the next meeting with the condition that signage will have to return to the
We'll
board
work
for
through that.
waivers.
If everybody's good with the color scheme, which is the corporate colors, we all know that, so.
Yep.
That way they can at least get a building permit and start their renovations.
Sounds good.
You got to take that, front wall, it's
I would
extensive.
assume the sidewalk, whether we're expanding across the front of the store, just at the main entrance would not be contingent upon the tenant change also?
No, I don't think so. I mean, because, it's a good suggestion, but I think there's concerns about the width of the road and the emergency or fire rescue parking. But to me, I'm satisfied that nothing's going to go there, so it's available to walk on, so they're not out on the road. But again, I'm only one vote, and if the board has concerns with that, they're welcome to express their concerns.
I don't, I've seen somebody push a carriage down it, so.
And obviously, we recognize too that it's a major change to the existing plaza,
Correct.
All right. Everybody's good with that?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I'll get you the information on the stop signs. Okay.
Yeah, take a look at signs, and that'll be a work in progress, the continuation with the signage, and we'll get there.
Yep. Okay.
And by the way, we do appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. We know that was a lengthy meeting, so thank you for your
Oh, that's
time.
fine. That's
We
fine.
appreciate it.
I find it, we're usually last on the agenda, so
Yeah.
last one, or
Change that.
first one.
As we
last.
close out all those, you move up, but you'll be done, so hopefully you're done. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Thanks very
Thank
much. Everybody have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
All right,
Are you okay with that, Clark? Yeah.
you good? Thanks, Clark.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
tonight.
we'll kick the can down the road a little bit on the waivers once we get some, firm information. That's where we stand, okay? All right. All right, so anything under reports from planning department tonight?
I do not have anything.
And under commission business, anybody have any questions for planning department or for legal?
One quick one. I just want to still keep open the discussion item on the due dates for applications and what the planning department thinks is appropriate.
We have been working on that.
Yeah.
We can, when we have a lighter meeting, we can bring that back to you guys.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be a cutoff sometime before the Friday afternoon, before the meeting.
Yeah, Clark's been working on flow charts
Mhm.
that we want to put on the website. I think they're great. We already used them once, and yeah, we can still write up that proposal and bring it back to you guys.
Okay, good.
and the only thing I've got tonight is want to thank Mr. McPartland for his service. Tonight is Mr. McPartland's last meeting with us, if you didn't know that. So thank you for your hard work over the last 7 years. I do appreciate you when you dig into things, you surely do, which is what the expectation is, and you definitely go above and beyond, and I appreciate that.
I
Thank you.
second that.
It's been a pleasure working with all of you.
I second that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
He does a really thorough job of reviewing all
Definitely.
the packets.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Laflamme and second by Ms. Gold. All right, yeah, I was looking that way, so all those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you
Night,
very
Clark.
much, everybody. Thank you for a long night. I appreciate it.